Heroes of the Storm fans are getting a double helping with this week's Tuesday update. Not only is the incredibly popular Overwatch hero Junkrat joining the fray, but the Halo's End Halloween event is also kicking off. In Heroes of the Storm, Junkrat will fill the role of a highly mobile assassin that causes chaos on the battlefield with his grenades, remote mines, and traps. His main ability is Frag Launcher, which can fire up to 4 grenades that can bounce and ricochet off terrain, and Concussion Mine can be remote detonated to launch enemies and Junkrat away from the initial blast. A well-timed blast could even land enemies in his steel trap that deals damage and roots enemies for 2 seconds. His heroic abilities consist of the iconic Riptire and Rocket Ride that launches Junkrat into the air and explodes on a location, dealing heavy damage and activating his passive ability Total Mayhem. Abilities: Frag Launcher, launch a grenade that explodes at the end of its path or upon hitting an enemy, dealing 117 damage to nearby enemies. Grenades can ricochet off of terrain. Deals 50% less damage to structures. Stores up to 4 charges. Frag Launcher's cooldown replenishes all charges at the same time. Concussion Mine, place a mine on the ground. Junkrat's trait can be activated to detonate the mine, dealing 180 damage to nearby enemies and knocking them back. Junkrat can also be affected by Concussion Mine, but takes no damage. Limit 1 active mine. Steel Trap, place a trap on the ground that arms after 2 seconds. Deals 130 damage to the first enemy that walks over it and roots them for 2 seconds. Limit 1 active trap. Riptire, create a motorized bomb with 500 health that lasts 15 seconds. While active, Junkrat is immobile but gains control of Riptire's movement. Riptire can be reactivated to detonate immediately, knocking nearby enemies back and dealing 450, 600, or 750 damage to enemies depending on how close they are to the center of the blast, with the highest amount near the center. Rocket Ride, after 1.25 seconds, Junkrat launches into the air. While in the air, he can steer the landing location by moving. After 3.5 seconds, Junkrat lands, dealing 780 damage to nearby enemies and activating Total Mayhem. 5 seconds after landing, Junkrat reappears at the altar and gains 150% additional movement speed until dismounted. Talents: Tier 1, put some English on it. Increase Frag Launcher's travel distance by 50%, but does not increase its speed. Extra wound timers: Frag Launcher grenades last an additional 2 seconds before automatically detonating. Bouncy upon colliding with terrain for the first time, Frag Launcher grenades deal 20% more damage. Tier 4, taste for explosions: hitting a hero with Frag Launcher increases its damage by 0.75, up to 150. Bonzer hits quest: hit enemy heroes 12 times with Concussion Mine. Reward: Concussion Mine deals 30% more damage and knocks enemies back 30% farther. Got a trap: all quest: hit 8 heroes with Steel Trap. Reward: reduce Steel Trap's cooldown by 3 seconds and increase the maximum number of active traps to 3. Tier 7, tricky shuffles: while Frag Launcher has no charges left, gain 15% movement speed. Big is increase Steel Trap's radius and damage by 50%. Sticky Wicket: Steel Trap no longer roots enemies, and instead slows them by 90% for 3 seconds. Tier 10, Riptire, create a motorized bomb with 500 health that lasts 15 seconds. While active, Junkrat is immobile but gains control of Riptire's movement. Riptire can be reactivated to detonate immediately, knocking nearby enemies back and dealing 450, 600, or 750 damage to enemies depending on how close they are to the center of the blast, with the highest amount near the center. Rocket Ride, after 1.25 seconds, Junkrat launches into the air. While in the air, he can steer the landing location by moving. After 3.5 seconds, Junkrat lands, dealing 780 damage to nearby enemies and activating Total Mayhem. 5 seconds after landing, Junkrat reappears at the altar and gains 150% additional movement speed until dismounted. Tier 13, Rare, Junkrat is knocked back 50% farther by Concussion Mine. Additionally, Concussion Mine's cooldown is reduced by 12 seconds if only Junkrat is hit. Bogged down enemies launched by Concussion Mine are slowed by 60% for 2 seconds upon landing. Chattering Teeth: Steel Traps will slowly chase nearby enemy heroes. Tier 16, Burst Fire: Frag Launcher fires all of its charges in a continuous burst. Its cooldown is reduced by 6 seconds, but it loses 1 maximum charge. Endless Nades: hitting an enemy hero with Frag Launcher reduces its cooldown by 1.5 seconds. Spread Volley: activate to make Frag Launcher fire 2 additional grenades in a spread. Works for up to 4 total charges, or until Frag Launcher runs out of charges. Tier 20 Extra Oomph increase Riptire's knockback distance by 50%, and its cooldown is reduced by 20 seconds for each enemy hero hit. Puckish Scamp reduce Rocket Ride's cooldown by 70 seconds. Cannonball increase the radius and explosion radius of grenades from basic attacks and frag launcher by 50%. Boom Pow hitting an enemy hero with Concussion Mine reduces its cooldown by 10 seconds. If that wasn't enough content for a single patch, Halo's End has also started up and players can earn all kinds of new skins, emojis and sprays. New skins: Fallen Junkrat, Dr. Wolfstein Greymane, Vampire Hunter V, Phantom Stallion, Spectral Stallion, Bewitched Brightwing, Paper Bag Gazlo, Garden Shambler Murky, Creepy Chromie, Pumpkin Chogle New Skin Variation Scarecrow XUL, Vampire Slayer Vale, Crimson Count Arthas, High Gravity Zarya, Pirate Queen Kashia, Dragon Genji, Oni Genji. Halo's End emoji packs. Halo's End quest: play 2 games to earn the cartoon Headless Horseman spray, 8 games to unlock the Halo's End War Crest banner, and 15 to score the Headless Horseman portrait before the event concludes in November. Our thoughts: it's great to see Blizzard continuing to put a lot of effort into the major holiday events for Heroes of the Storm. The new Halloween-themed skins look great, and I'm sure many players will have a blast with Junkrat. Source: press release articles related to Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm introduces Junkrat, Anna, and Volskaya Foundry. Heroes of the Storm heeds the call of Kel'Thuzad. Heroes of the Storm shines a spotlight on Garrosh Hellscream-related Blizzard Entertainment event. Heroes of the Storm MOBA news.